And a very good evening to you. Welcome to Easy Friday. My name is Shiksha Arora. This is KBC Channel 1, where I'll be telling you the top stories tonight. And remember, we've got some good news for you. FLOTUS, that is Jill Biden, the First Lady of the United States of America, is officially in town as she begins her tour in Kenya. So that's going to be happening. We'll also be speaking about the high cost of living and how life at the moment is deeming a bit difficult for Kenyans. So we'll be speaking about that and what the government and the president in particular has to say. So all that and much more. Remember, sports as well as business news later on. But for now, it's time for the highlights.
We shall also implement the open tender system in the importation of LPG to achieve competitive and efficient pricing of product, including other mix and match interventions that will ensure that the end user, the consumer, gets the most competitive price.
Reducing the cost of living. Government plans to waive taxes on liquefied petroleum gas to make cooking gas more affordable. Summoned? Not me. Former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i skips an invitation to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, saying he has never served summons by the DCI. Justice be our shield and defender. Terror mastermind sentenced to 30 years behind bars for plotting against the Kenyatta International Convention Center. And Mrs. Biden arrives. U.S. First Lady begins her tour of Kenya. Right, our sign language interpreter tonight is Byron Abuli. Now let's begin the live broadcast. The top story. President William Ruto says the government will waive all taxes on liquefied petroleum gas, that's LPG, to make cooking gas more affordable and available to Kenyans. Speaking in Mombasa during the groundbreaking ceremony of the Taifa Gas Special Economic Zone Limited, President William Ruto said the move will be achieved through the development of a common user terminal for LPG at the port of Mombasa.
President William Ruto says the government will implement the open tender system in the importation of liquefied petroleum gas to achieve competitive and efficient pricing of the products.
The adoption of clean modern cooking minimizes our appetite for wood fuel, which has traditionally led to decimation of the national tree cover as well as illegal felling of trees on a massive scale. Liquid petroleum gas is an important transition alternative, representing a major step towards clean domestic energy consumption. It is therefore beneficial to promote it as a cleaner, safer, healthier, and significantly more environmentally compatible alternative to wood fuel.
He observed that public institutions that use biomass as their cooking fuel will have to transition to LPG.
And we are going to make sure that all our institutions of higher learning, all our boarding schools, all our institutions transit from using wood fuel that is decimating our forests into using gas that is cleaner, that is healthier, and that is much more environmentally useful.
The president noted that as Kenyans pursues clean and green growth, it is imperative to match the effort to the mitigation of climate change by embracing environment-friendly alternatives.
Ndani ya miaka mitatu ijayo, kila nyumba katika taifa letu la Kenya itakuwa na mtungi wa gesi, na tutahakikisha ya kwamba bei ya gas itapungua kwa sababu tutaondoa pia ile kodi yote ambayo imewekwa kwa mambo ya gas.
He termed the launch of Taifa Gas a historic milestone on Kenya's journey to achieve self-sufficiency in clean green energy. The proposed 30,000 metric tons plant is designed to store propane, butane and LPG for domestic, commercial and industrial use. The entry of new gas company in the Kenyan market offers an opportunity to lower cooking gas and make it affordable to all Kenyans. Michael Mondiga for Easy Friday, Mombasa County.
Now moving on, former Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i has denied receiving summons from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, that's the DCI, over an alleged raid at his Karen home on the night of February 8th. Through his lawyer, Danstan Omari, Dr. Matiang'i, who is reported to be out of the country, says summons are according to the law specific to an individual and must be signed by the DCI investigating officer or a court officer.
Former Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i was expected at the Directorate of Criminal Investigations headquarters, according to this unsigned letter that has been circulating in the media. In the letter, a Detective Michael Sang of the Serious Crime Unit wanted Matiang'i to record a statement over claims that his Nairobi home was raided by police officers a fortnight ago. But Matiang'i's lawyers, led by Danstan Omari, dismissed the letter as fake, saying summons are not served via social media.
Lazima ile summon uwekwe vidole na yule ambaye ameiandika. Na nawauliza waandishi wa habari, nipe summon ambayo imesainiwa na polisi. Kunayo?
On Matiang'i's whereabouts, his legal team was non-committal.
A court order from the High Court does not stop the CS from being investigated. He has nothing to hide. But the investigation must be done within the law.
The DCI has since indicated that the alleged raid of former minister's home was stage-managed. The authenticity of the unsigned notice to compel attendance letter could, however, not be ascertained. Gishoki Washira, Easy Friday.
Now, Boda rider Victor Odede Bwire, who was found guilty of conspiring to orchestrate a terror attack at the Kenyatta International Convention Center in 2019, has been sentenced to 30 years in jail. Now, the court noted that prosecution had proved the 2 counts beyond reasonable doubt and that the sentence will act as a deterrent to those who support terrorist acts in the country.
Victor Odede Bwire, during his sentencing on Friday,
we believe that you've made a case and we believe that your honor is going to meet up a maximum sentence.
Milimani Senior Principal Magistrate Bernardo Choi said Bwire was found guilty of 2 counts of conspiring to commit an act of terror at KICC in January 2019, which he got 20 years, and a separate charge of collecting information to aid a terror act, of which landed him 10 years.
He should be treated as a first offender and to possibly consider an uncustodial sentence.
Your Honor, terrorism is not just making an offense, and our submission is that if the accused person, with the help of his conspirator, concluded or successful, Your Honor, in collecting the information and submitting to his coordinator and the act committed, Your Honor, the effect could have been devastating for the Republic of Kenya.
The court noted the veracity of his crimes, adding that his actions could have caused massive loss of lives and property.
In the pre-sentence report, the ATPU asked the court to consider the impact that terror acts posed to the nation, which include loss of life, loss of businesses, and generally negative impact to the economy due to sometimes the relocation of businesses due to terror threats.
Bwire was arrested as he gathered information about the complex and used Facebook to share data with terrorists in Somalia with the intention of bombing the building. The court ordered that the sentences be served simultaneously, meaning he will serve 20 years in jail. Elsewhere, the Supreme Court of Kenya on Friday ruled that the NGO board's decision to bar homosexuals from forming recognized group is discriminatory. The Apex Court stated that despite homosexuality being illegal in Kenya, members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer or questioning persons LGBTQ still have a right of association. Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu Justice Smokin Wanjala and Justice Njoki Ndongo ruled in favor of the petition, while Justice Mohammed Ibrahim and William Ouko dissenting, stating that homosexuals should not be allowed to form organized associations in the country. This now gives members of the LGBTQ the power to seek formal recognition by the Non-Governmental Organizations Coordination Board. For Easy Friday, I'm Ben Troy Njue.
Now, United States of America First Lady Dr. Jill Biden is in the country for a 3-day visit. Dr. Jill jetted to the country this afternoon and was received by her host, the country's First Lady Rachel Ruto.
At exactly 4:28 p.m., the Executive One Foxtrot, a military plane carrying U.S. First Lady Dr. Jill Biden, touched down at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport under tight security. Kenya's First Lady Rachel Ruto, accompanied by other government officials, were at hand to welcome Dr. Jill on her first visit to Kenya as U.S. First Lady. On Saturday, Dr. Jill is expected to engage in an entrepreneurship and sustainability event on how young entrepreneurs are transforming agricultural practices in Kenya through technology and improving livelihoods and food security. Afterward, Dr. Jill will join First Lady Rachel Ruto to meet with local women as part of Mrs. Ruto's Joyful Women initiative that promotes women's economic empowerment and financial inclusion. On Sunday morning, Dr. Jill Biden will travel to visit a drought-affected area in the country to highlight the impacts of drought on community livelihoods before leaving the country. Ben Chumba, Easy Friday.
Of course, that's the First Lady of the United States of America, Dr. Jill Biden. Now moving on, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition has maintained that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission election servers have never been opened. Azimio leader Raila Odinga disputed President William Ruto's statement that the Commission 2022 election servers have been opened.
A day after President William Ruto responded on the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission's 2022 election servers, indicating that the servers have been open throughout the election exercise, Azimio la Umoja leaders have come out to refute that.
We called you here to refute the claims by Mr. William Ruto that the servers used by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission in the last year's election have always been open and remain open. It was a plain, disgusting and horrifying lie.
Raila Odinga, accompanied by his running mate Martha Karua, Jubilee's Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni, and former devolution CS Eugene Wamalwa, noted that an application by Azimio lawyers during the presidential election petition at the Supreme Court to have the servers accessed was declined by the Smartmatic company that provided the servers.
The Smartmatic wrote this letter, and it is also in the records of the Supreme Court that we were denied access to the servers. So what Mr. Ruto was saying yesterday is a blatant lie.
Odinga maintaining that the servers ought to be opened and an audit conducted by an independent institution to ensure electoral trust.
This is the only way that to restore confidence in the IEBC and give legitimacy to the leadership that emerged from that election. Unfortunately, the tragedy of this situation does not end there.
At the same time, Raila says the coalition's 14-day ultimatum to the Kenya Kwanza government to lower the cost of living stands, and they'll continue to push for it. Kamchemenza for Easy Friday.
Now, mental health has been identified as a critical area that requires attention and awareness creation. Specialists are calling for the allocation of more funds to mental health care to counter challenges attributed to an upsurge in cases related to mental illness. Public Service Cabinet Secretary on Friday launched an initiative that will spearhead the training of mental health champions. Take a look.
According to research conducted by the World Health Organization in 2020 involving 130 countries, the pandemic caused a disruption or a halt to the provision of critical mental health services in over 93% of countries worldwide. Public Service, Gender and Affirmative Action Cabinet Secretary Aisha Jumo says Kenya is treating mental health as a matter of priority.
We must have a budget, the 2023-2024 budgets, that will be a mental health responsive budget. Ignoring mental health issues will without doubt have far-reaching damaging effect to human race.
Experts are calling for robust awareness creation to help reverse the damage of mental illness in the public service.
You need also to pay attention to the human side of the work, and so these issues concerning the comfort of the worker mattered and so on.
I remember hitting rock bottom, that was sometime in 2016, and I was like, death is preferable. I normally tell people that when you get to that rock bottom point, you care about nothing.
Mental health challenges or conditions, they cost our economy 62.2 billion Kenya shillings. That's 62 times than what we even assumed it's going to cost the economy.
On Friday, the Cabinet Secretary of Public Service, Affirmative Action and Gender, Aisha Jumo, launched the Public Service Mental Health Champions Initiative, which will see the training of officers to offer mental health services to public service employees in departments, agencies and counties. With mental health cases causing a worrying trend not just in the country but globally as well, members of the public service sector in the country are being encouraged to adopt a culture of speaking up so that they get the much needed help, and in the long run this won't affect their service delivery. Yusuf Far reporting for Easy Friday from the KICC, Nairobi.
Now, Kenya and Uganda are pitching for funds from international donors to fund the implementation of the Angololo Water Resources Project. Speaking during a meeting with Stakeholder Water Cabinet Secretary Alice Wahome, this says phase 1 of the project, which included an environmental assessment, research and land acquisition, has been completed.
During today's meeting, representatives from Kenya and Ugandan governments shared the expected benefits and outcome of the 15 billion Kenyan shilling project as they would donors to fund it.
The technical documentation, the studies are all in place, and I agree with you that what we now need to do is get money on the table for investment so that the project can come to reality.
To assure our development partners that we are 100% committed to this project, and we would be very grateful if you gave us the funding.
Speaking on the sidelines of the conference, Water Cabinet Secretary says once completed, the project will be used for domestic hydro and irrigation between the two nations, with benefits being shared equally.
2,000 in Kenya and 2,000 in Uganda. We have agreed, we are working on the final MOU, that the project benefits will be shared fairly and equally between the two countries.
The multi-border project, whose implementation is expected to start in 12 months, will see irrigation of 400,000 hectares of land to be distributed equally between Kenya and Uganda.
The final stage that we say you lobby for funding so that you go to implementation of the project. The project has been proved to be viable. We have a report to be viable and bankable, so including private partners can be able to come on board.
For Prime Edition, I'm Zainab Said.
Now, the Arora movement emerged in the 1920s, and it was characterized by a blend of Christianity and Kikuyu traditional beliefs, practices and values. This week on My Culture, we focus on the evolution of the Arora faith.
The Arora faith originated in late 1920s and early 1930s at the heart of central Kenya in Limuru, Kiambu County. It was registered in Kenya in 1959. Akorino faith is one of the denominations collectively referred to as African independent churches. For many years, this sect was predominantly Kikuyu, that's why Akorino is a blend of Christianity and Kikuyu traditional beliefs, practices, and values. To date, the Akorino faith has a national outlook as different tribes have converted to the faith.
Akorino ni mmoja. Hii nataka nikueleze wazi ya kwamba kama amefunga kilemba ya red, kama amefunga ya green ama gani, hawa Akorino ni mmoja.
Singularly, Mokorino, the Akorino were referred to using different names such as Watu wa Mungu, meaning people of God, Arathi, meaning prophets or seers, Aroti, meaning dreamers, Arataroho, meaning friends of the spirit, among others.
Haikuwa Wakorino, ilikuwa wao ni Aroti, walikuwa naitwa Aroti. Lakini sasa walipenda kuimba wimbo unaosema Jesu mukoli witu. Arafu hiyo ndio ilifanya wao wakaitwa Wakorino. Jesu mukoli, wale waliuliza Mokorino. Naye waliosikia walimuona yeye ndiye anaitwa Mokorino, lakini yeye si Mokorino. Wao ni watu ambaye Mungu alikuwa akiwapa maneno kwa ndoto, kwa maono.
Presently, many Akorino splinter groups have been registered. Dating back to pre-independence Kenya, the Akorino faith was strictly conservative, however, that has drastically transformed. In the past, the followers had different practices such as wearing a turban as a symbol of peace.
Maana ya kiremba ni jifu. Maana ya jifu ni kusema umenyenyekea naye Mungu awasikie. Kiremba hii unaona ni jifu. Sasa kuliko kujimwagia jifu tunafunga kiremba.
The members widely followed the teachings of Leviticus, the third book of the Old Testament in the Bible that spells out the laws governing their life.
Ni vizuri kuifuata vile Mungu alisema kwa Walawi na kuona ile kazi tunafanya ni ile iliyopewa wale si kujipatia kazi, walijipatia, hawakuona kazi mzuri, lakini Mungu aliwachagua mwenyewe, aliyeteua na kuwa amewaweka wakfu, walikuwa Arawi. Naona wale ambaye walikuwa wakimtumia Mungu, wakitumikia Mungu.
Members would worship accompanied by loud prayers, weeping, shaking, jumping, with a strong belief in visions and dreams. These even as they were opposed to the use of modern medicine and instead used traditional herbal medicine together with faith healing.
Kama wewe umefunuliwa usikunywe dawa, tuseme kwa mfano, sababu wale watu wa kwanza walikuwa wamekatazwa kunywa dawa. Watu walipoanza kusema habari ya dawa, kuna watu walikatalia kwa kusema hapana, Mungu ndiye alisema tusikunywe dawa. Hata sasa hatutakunywa. Wengine naye wakaingia wamesoma wakasema tutakunywa dawa. Si sasa mnagawanya? Kupanga uzazi si yetu, kwa sababu Mungu mwenyewe ndiye alisema endeni mzae na mujaze dunia na muishinde. Unasikia? Ni Mungu alisema.
Past, worshippers were not allowed to enter a church with money.
Aroti na ndio Wakorino hawakutaka pesa, maana hiyo mambo ya pesa ikiingia hakuna njia nyingine mzuri, na kwa watu wanakuwa hawasikilizani.
At the same time, married women adorned the Akorino ring, which is a cloth veil worn together with their blouses instead of a wedding ring.
Ile pete Mungu aliwapatia ni hiyo gashuka unaona wanavaa. Msichana hawezi vaa hiyo sababu hajaoleka. Lakini mama akishaoleka anavaa gani? Hiyo. Lakini wale sasa saa nyingine unaona wanapenda pete sababu kunao sasa wametokezea na wanavaa pete. Ni kulingana na vile mtu anaona yeye anataka na anamuongelesha mchungaji wake, anamwambia ni sawa.
They chose not to take oaths even in a court of law, refrained from enrolling in the disciplined forces.
Kuongea ataweka Biblia, atawekelea mkono yake chini. Sababu yeye hawezi kukula kiapo aseme ati nachukua Bible hii niseme hivi na hivi. Hivi ni kuonyesha wewe umesahau Mungu anasema nini habari ya kiapo. Kiapo huwezi kula, na ndipozo unaona Mkurino hawezi kula kiapo. Kama unataka ale kiapo pengine ashike kifua yake. Hata kotini akiingia hivi kama atafungwa tu, maana yeye hawezi inua Biblia aseme yale maneno anasema ni ya ukweli kweli kabisa.
In the past, members were not allowed to marry outside the faith, modesty dressing was strictly enforced, taking alcohol and any form of secularism were forbidden. Over time, evolution has been witnessed. Today, members can marry whomever they please and dress more freely. Jackie Wambiru, My Culture.
All right, what a beautiful and a rich culture that is. That is the Akorino movement. I hope I said it right. Daniel Wahome was training me on how to pronounce it properly, the proper Gikuyu way. So let's see if I made him proud. I'll ask him later on how he rates me. All right, with that, it's time for us to take our first commercial break. We'll be back in just a moment. Remember, the hashtag is Easy Friday. Find us on social media at Shiksha Arora, at KBC Channel 1, and talk to us. Tell us where you're watching from. We'll be right back. Don't go too far.
Nimesahau kucheza Loto Moto. Usisahau kucheza Loto Moto. Shinda milioni 2 kila siku kwenye M-Pesa. Chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number 757070. Account number andika neno Loto. Kisha weka star na nambari yako ya simu. Weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi 2000.
Aulali.
Lipa kisha subiri draw. Welala. Nitakutimizia ndoto zako. Milioni 2 usiamini. Ujumbe huu umeidhinishwa na BCLB.
Mzali sign divorce papers.
Nimesema mimi sitasaini hizo makaratasi.
Kwani unatakaje na mimi? Unataka kuniwa na stress?
Wewe na mama Jabali mtakula huu.
How is Jen?
How is Lawrence?
Pick it on your way out. Your slipped tongue.
Wewe ni wazimu uko nayo. Toka uende. Toka uende.
Jackie.
Tena mafelix wewe niambie story yote vile kulienda kila kitu.
So what did you bring from the market? By the way, I'm not done with you. Husband wako amefanya nini?
Sina bwana.
Lakini kwanza lazima niangalie boma yangu.
Hey, si dada amechange. Amekwambia nini?
Have you ever had an inkling of thought that maybe Christina has been a bad influence to our women?
Sitaki mtu ama kitu yoyote iniharibie siku.
I'm not here to spoil your day.
Jumapili hii kwenye runinga ya KBC, ungana naye Askofu Michael Wanderi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu kuanzia saa 1 hadi saa 2 asubuhi.
Ningetaka nikwambie, our Jehovah God, because the Bible says he is the same yesterday, today and forevermore. He is able to take you to a place of abundance. He is able to take you to Rehoboth in the name of Jesus Christ.
Kipindi ni neno la neema, ukiletewa naye Askofu Michael Wanderi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu. Usikose.
I'm Marie Yambo here in the southern part of the country in Oloitoktok, where, as you can see, farmers have lost their crops to the ongoing drought. Some families are even feeling the pressure to marry off their girls for an income. That story coming soon on KBC Channel 1.
Welcome back to Easy Friday. Now, netizens' best way of expressing themselves has always been behind the keyboard, and while the strong-hearted citizens take it to the streets, the savage netizens would rather sit back and criticize from their comfort zones. This week, we dive into all matters of protest and what the cyber surfers had to comment on. Take a look.
It's not only the sun that's raising the heat on the netizens this week, but also the high cost of living fueled by the protest conducted. So let's find out what the savage netizens had to say.
Netizens, gather around. What is this I am hearing about bodybuilders? Yani, wanaume wenye miraba minne, literally marauding around parliament in protests? Sounds like an interesting week this has been. So let me bring you guys up to speed. Eric Omondi may have found himself at the back of Mariamo for protesting against the high cost of living. Now, what turned the heads of many is the bare chest demonstration, plus the title Eric Omondi holds in the society as a comedian. Jamlik, it could have made sense if it was Eric Omondi without the comedian part. John, on a serious note, they are the voice of people. We should stand up with them. Vince responded, the agenda he is pushing is what is hailing the common mwananchi.
Be fearless! Be fearless! Serve this nation! Yes! Yes! Yes!
Maina, who was just interested in being shirtless, tweeted, if I was around town, I would have joined him. The heat is too much. Ndonga sheepishly, wangekuwa wamejipaka zile baby oil, wangekuwa hawashikiki. Size wondering, tear gas ilikuwa ya nini sasa? The demonstration was peaceful. King Lion tweeted, polisi wameshindwa watashika wapi na hawana mashati.
What are you saying, man? What are you saying? What is he saying?
But since this is the week filled with protest, Azimio leader Raila Odinga has already given a warning that the cost of living should come down in 14 days, or Azimio will mobilize demonstrations. What is the netizens' take on this? Cause, believe me, it got the attention of many.
Wool up, nigga. Wool up, wool up, wool up. Just wool up.
Dagi dragging in the irony tweeted, breaking news, Raila has recognized Dr. Ruto as the president and given him 14 days to deliver.
Ulisikia wapi? Ulisikia wapi?
Mzee wa maana in support wrote, on one hand, Ruto never won the election. But on the other hand, they want the same president to lower the prices of food commodities and living generally. Which is which? But for others who support the move, the comments would definitely differ. Sheila wrote, true. Matters are getting out of hand now. Kawitha, 14 days, hata ni mingi. We are ready even today. Sema tungwe. Njoro asked sarcastically, what happened to kama sio sasa ni sasa hivi? Well, Njoro, I don't think you want to hear what the answers from netizens are, but I will leave you guys with these Azimio's best.
That's it for us. Catch you next week on Savage Netizens. For Easy Friday, I am Teresa Mutai.
Let's take a look at today's business news. My name is Wairimu Jenga. Now, employers are calling on the government to delay implementation of the increased NSSF charges to July this year to offer them a grace period to adjust their budgets. Despite the Court of Appeal ruling that the new NSSF rates be implemented this month, Federation of Kenya Employers President Habil Olaka is calling for delayed implementation on concerns that it would push up cost of businesses.
The Court of Appeal early this month ruled that the NSSF Act No. 45 of 2013 was constitutionally enacted. The Act proposed to increase the monthly NSSF deductions for employers from 200 shillings to 1,080 shillings, with the employer matching the worker's contribution. The Court of Appeal ruling directed that the new NSSF rates be effected this month. And now employers want the implementation delayed.
We did appeal for the period of implementation of the Act to be pushed back. This is one of the requests we have made and will continue to appeal for, to give employers time, because we are seeing that remitting contributions next month will pose challenges, and we are looking forward to having agreement on what a reasonable time frame is for us to be able to say that yes, we are now ready to implement the changes to the NSSF Act 2013.
We are concerned with the unintended adverse effect the initiatives have on the business environment and the livelihood of citizens.
FKE is pushing for at least 2 weeks of social dialogue with the government on the new NSSF rates and its implementation.
We always need time to adjust our budgets, to restructure our systems and processes, to look at our cash flows so as to accommodate the changes that there are.
The current high labor costs are unsustainable. The high cost of living remains the greatest challenge Kenya faces and may morph into a social crisis of monumental level. We appeal to the executive and parliament to address this matter by involving all stakeholders in the process of developing policies that reduce poverty and enhance economic growth.
FKE also wants clarification on gratuity payments in contracts for employees and the pension charges.
Opt-out permission cannot be given until 2 months have lapsed. Then we all need to come to the table and agree on what to do. The best option in our view would be to allow employers to, yes, deduct up to the level of the new act, the 6% by the employee, 6% by the employer, up to the upper earning limit and the lower earning limit, which NSSF has shared, then allow employers to hold on to the Tier 2 deductions and only remit Tier 1 deductions to NSSF as RBA gets time to allow employers to opt out.
As the clock strikes closer to a deadline, the Federation of Kenya Employers are urging the government to give them more time so that the labor sector does not suffer from the consequences of this action. Hibak Said for Easy Friday.
National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Professor Njuguna Ndungu says the latest management changes at the Kenya Revenue Authority were necessitated by economic transformation. Professor Ndungu told the Senate Standing Committee on Finance and Budget that the new management team at KRA was needed to increase tax collection to fund the budget.
The KRA Board of Directors yesterday effected changes of the top management team at the Taxman. Among the changes was the resignation of Githin Mburu as the Commissioner General. National Treasury Cabinet Secretary says the changes are part of a wider plan to push up tax collection.
There's so much movement, and now the exit of Mr. Mburu.
The strength of your team is equivalent to your weakest link. So you always have to fight to remove the weakest link.
The Kenya Revenue Authority has been given a tax collection target of 3 trillion shillings this year, which is expected to increase to 5 trillion shillings by the year 2027.
When you are restructuring, it is because you are recognizing the weakest link.
The tax regime should not be the one delaying your dream. You invested, you wanted to achieve whatever you wanted to achieve in 10 years, but then they come in between and they put on so many barriers.
The National Treasury wants privatization terms of each of the targeted state-owned enterprises tailored.
Even participation is going to be very, very important, because essentially you're not privatizing to kill, you're privatizing to grow it.
Benson Druba for Easy Friday.
Information, Communication and the Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo has launched the first regional Jitume laboratories in Uasin Gishu and Bungoma counties. Jitume is a government initiative aimed at providing access to digital skills, e-services and online opportunities to youth across the country. Owalo said the ultimate goal is to equip 1 million learners with market-ready businesses and ICT skills at no cost.
Today, the frontier is the digital economic space. The jobs that will give you adequate resources commensurate with your skills, competencies, and capabilities is digital jobs. So we are providing this training as Ministry of ICT. At the same time, we are liaising with global technological companies to get you jobs. By the time you are through with this training, you will be digitally employed.
Utmost use of that facility. It is a facility that is going to put our institutions, the TVET institutions, at a very strategic level.
We are trying to create employment. We want our youths not to be employment seekers, but to be to create employment. That's what we are going to do, and that's the focus ambayo tunaichukulia sasa. This lab that we are getting today and many others that we are going to get, ladies and gentlemen, is the way to go.
The government is forging close working relations with the private sector to accelerate the process of adding more digital talent to the Kenyan economy in line with the National Digital Master Plan. Speaking during the Huawei ICT Competition Awards ceremony for 21 students from various universities in Kenya, Administration Secretary in the Ministry of Information, Communication and Digital Economy Chimwanga Mongo called on more institutions to invest in personal and professional development, which is critical in Kenya's overall talent growth targets.
We must continue to upgrade our training programs, upgrade our curriculum, upgrade our teaching methods, and take advantage of the internet to spread opportunities to all Kenyans, no matter where they are. As a ministry, I believe that the digital skills learning is critical at all stages of learning, from basic to higher education, and I'm extremely delighted that we can join hands with Huawei towards building a digitally enabled workforce.
Academic collaboration is very important, so we have strong efforts to work with higher education institutions to improve the curriculum, to offer access to the latest technology skills.
Where so many things change from the academia and how we deliver courses to our students. We moved to online. We needed to embrace technology, because without technology at that kind of moment, we could be having problems and we could run into a standstill.
They are like backtracking from the universities, the support. So that support of the university that you are letting down, please stay keen on those universities, visit them, ensure the students there getting this support.
Homa Bay County government has, in partnership with the World Bank, embarked on construction of low-carbon housing units, Green Building Certification Program. Kenya Green Building Society CEO Nasra Nada says the house has been constructed with feature use 20% less energy, less water and less embodied energy in materials when compared to traditional buildings.
Homa Bay affordable housing. We are hoping that the county will take the advice and recommendations that we provide at the end of the workshop, and then would be able to implement it in the work that they do.
Our intention is to come up with guidelines that will ensure that we manage climate change through adaptation and implementing mitigation measures in good time.
And this conversation essentially is a starting point for us to work and walk this journey with Homa Bay County.
We are looking at green energy efficiency and water conservation strategies.
Kenya's aviation industry is expected to bounce back to pre-pandemic levels this year, with various airlines revamping their brands to cater to the rising demand. One of Europe's biggest carriers, Air France KLM, says it expects the Nairobi route to register 19% more seats than in 2022. The airline's regional manager, Van der Ham, says it plans to increase more seats and flights to Nairobi and the region, with new routes planned for Uganda and Rwanda later this year.
The last 3 years have been tough for the global aviation industry, especially passenger services. The COVID-19 pandemic battered the sector due to border closures and the stay-at-home mandates. According to the International Air Transport Association, IATA, the industry suffered economic losses of $175 billion in 2020 and $104 billion in 2021. However, the sector is slowly regaining its lost glory, with the sector now at 90% pre-pandemic recovery levels. One of Europe's biggest carriers, Air France KLM, says it expects a growth of 19% in passenger seats this year. The airline's regional manager, Maurice Van der Ham, says the carrier plans to increase more seats and flights to Nairobi, where corporate travelers sat at 75% for the region versus 2019, while in Kenya the contribution was 95% and 16% more in Tanzania, consequently showing an above-average recovery of this segment. The company says at least 85% of the airline's capacity in the market was restored against the backdrop of the gradual lifting of the COVID-19 restrictions on passengers. Air France KLM says it has rolled out a new solution aimed at providing a real-time and seamless end-to-end travel experience for travelers. The online portal is designed to offer travelers relevant travel information from policies and procedures to the airline's products and services. Andrew Kiro for East Friday.
Well, that marks the end of business news for tonight, but don't go anywhere. Daniel Ohome is on the other end with today's sports. My name is Weri Mujenga. Have a great weekend.
Nimesahau kucheza Loto Moto. Usisahau kucheza Loto Moto. Shinda milioni 2 kila siku kwenye M-Pesa. Chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number 757070. Account number andika neno Loto. Kisha weka star na nambari yako ya simu. Weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi 2000.
Aulali.
Lipa kisha subiri draw. Welala. Nitakutimizia ndoto zako. Milioni 2 usiamini. Ujumbe huu umeidhinishwa na BCLB.
Mzali sign divorce papers.
Nimesema mimi sitasaini hizo makaratasi.
Kwani unatakaje na mimi? Unataka kuniua na stress?
Wewe na mama Jabali mtakula huu.
How is Jen?
How is Lawrence?
Pick it on your way out. You slipped tongue. Wewe ni wazimu uko nayo. Toka uende. Toka uende.
Jackie.
Tena mafelisi wewe niambie story yote vile kulienda kila kitu. So what did you bring from the market? By the way, I'm not done with you.
Husband wako amefanya nini?
Sina bwana.
Lakini kwanza lazima niangalie boma yangu.
Hey, si dada amechange. Amekwambia nini?
Have you ever had an inkling of thought that maybe Christina has been a bad influence to our women?
Sitaki mtu ama kitu yoyote iniharibie siku.
I'm not here to spoil your day.
I'm Marie Yangbo, here in the southern part of the country in Oloitoktok, where, as you can see, farmers have lost their crops to the ongoing drought. Some families are even feeling the pressure to marry off their girls for an income. That story coming soon on KBC Channel 1.
A very good evening to you. My name is Daniel Wahome and welcome to Channel 1 Sport on Easy Friday. Now, we start with athletics where Japan-based Rebecca Mwangi emerged victorious in the 10,000 meters race in the second leg of the Athletics Kenya Track and Field Weekend Meet, which started today at the Nyayo National Stadium. The event, which has attracted over 1,500 athletes, has been enlisted as a World Athletics ranking competition.
Starting off the competition was the senior women's 10,000 meters where Japan-based Rebecca Mwangi took the top honors after clocking 32 minutes, 37.4 seconds. Agnes Mumboa and Edna Jerotich finished second and third respectively.
One day, one time, sitakuwa na haraka, but the time will come. Na nikuwe nimeingia Kenya team.
In the 5,000 meters under 20 category, Mario Jepngetich and Diana Cherotich emerged victorious after clocking 15 minutes, 51.29 seconds and 15 minutes, 51.33 seconds respectively. The two missed out to represent the country in World Cross Country Championships in Bathurst, Australia due to visa hitches.
World Cross, sikuweza kupata visa. Nikasema sitaweza give up, nitaendelea kung'ang'ana na mazoezi. Namshukuru Mungu kwa sababu ameniwezesha kuweza kushinda mbio ya leo.
Beatrice Machoka and 17-year-old Form 4 student Samuel Toire won 400 meters under 20 women and under 18 boys respectively.
Nataka nikienda kurepresent Kenya, ni make kaya hero, ni bebe yo 400.
Other events that attracted competitive participation were the discus throw, shot put throw, and senior and junior high jumps alike.
Been privileged to focus on this because athletics is what is making us to achieve by striving on our talents.
Most finals scheduled for tomorrow include the 100 meters, 200 meters, 110 meters men hurdles, 5,000 meters men finals, javelin and hammer throw.
Athletics Kenya Meet has kicked off here at Nyayo National Stadium. The two-day event will be used to select the under-18 and under-20 team that is going to represent Kenya at the East African Athletics Championship in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania next month. Nora Mwangi for Easy Friday.
Thank you, Nora, for that report. On to football, where Kariobangi Sharks have moved up to 11th position on the FKF Premier League table after beating Sofapaka by 2-0 in the only Premier League match played today at the Kasarani Annex. After a goalless first half, Sharks netted twice without reply to collect the maximum points that moved them to within 1 point of 10th placed Bandari FC. Sofapaka, who began the match above their opponents, remained in 13th position and 18 points and continued their search for a 5th win of the season. The FKF Premier League continues tomorrow with 6 matches being played across the country, while the remaining 2 games of round 17 of the season will be played on Sunday. Now, the National Rugby Sevens team Shiksha will be targeting a good performance in the 6th leg of the HSBC World Rugby 7 Series in Los Angeles this weekend and move out of the relegation zone. The team coached by Damien McGrath has been pulled in Group C and will open their campaign against Australia tomorrow night at the Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, California. They will face Olympic and world champions Fiji early Sunday in their second encounter, then wrap up their group matches against Japan. Kenya currently lies 12th in the series with 21 points. New Zealand tops the standings with 85 points, 9 ahead of second place South Africa. Samoa are third with 68 points. And across our borders, English Premier League side Manchester United came from a goal down to beat Barcelona by 2-1 at Old Trafford to qualify for the Europa League's last 16 matches. Italian side Juventus also qualified for the round of 16 after beating Nantes by 3-0.
With an absolutely stunning goal to silence the Stade de la Beauce. Spanish side Sevilla are also through despite losing 2-0 to PSV, winning 3-2 on aggregate and Bayern.
Well, that's the sport for tonight, and remember tomorrow, 2 events you need to look out for in Kenya. Kenya Police FC versus Gor Mahia at Kasarani. That's in football. And the second day of the Athletics Kenya meeting, because Ferdinand Omanyala has said he wants to break the African record again. Can he do 9.75? That's all we'll find out tomorrow, and it will be in our bulletin. My name is Daniel Rohome. Thank you very much. I hand you over to Shiksha Arora. Today she's hosting Butros. This person does something known as shrap. Sheng, rap, and popular music. Shrap itself sounds crazy. I'm sure we're going to have some great fun with Shiksha Arora on Easy Friday. My name is Daniel Lahome. Have a great evening.
Butros will be singing for us in a short while. But thank you so much for your company. We'll do this again, same time, same place next week. Of course, the show continues with great music, great entertainment, Cool Jacks on the decks. And later on, as I said, Butros will be speaking to him. He'll be on my hot seat. That's it from the news desk. And of course, make sure you keep talking to us, keep interacting with us. The hashtag is Easy Friday. My name is Shiksha Arora. The sign language interpreter has been Byron Abuli. We'll do this again next week. But for now, don't go too far. Coal Jacks taking over, and then Butros right here, only on KBC Channel 1. I'll see you soon.